Today I've got some really fun primitive or vintage style DIYs for you, including some experimenting with tinting glass. I just love how everything turned out. Let's get started. This first one, I have this wooden box here. It, is Christmas themed, but it's not really my style or the color scheme that I like, although they did a very good job painting it. They signed it 2003. My mom had this, didn't want it anymore, and so I gave it 2 coats of cashew paint by Waverly. I also have this tray from the Dollar Tree, this wire tray, and I'm going to be cutting it up and putting a grate on top of this. And to know where to cut on this tray, I'm just using a marker here to make my lines where I want to cut with a pair of wire cutters. This cut fairly easy with these wire cutters, but I would recommend some gloves, and I did put some on because you have to squeeze pretty hard because this is pretty thick wire, and gloves, protect your hands. To attach the grate to the box, I'm going to be stapling it with this electric staple gun. I've only used this staple gun a few times, and each time there's a lot of time that elapses before I use it again, and so I sort of relearn about how to hold it on there at the right angle to shoot the staples straight down. So I did have to remove a couple of staples where I had shot them in there in the wrong angle, but no big deal, and I got the hang of it pretty quick. And then I came back with a little hammer and hammered those down, and that also sort of pushed that wire into the wood as well, and I was glad that did that too. But that was on there pretty sturdy. I will leave a link down in the description box of where I got this imagery from. It's from a 1904, I believe, catalog, and it had an ad, ads in there for paintbrushes that you could buy. And so I'm making this a paintbrush holder. And I just printed the imagery onto some craft tissue paper. I'll leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I want it to look old, sort of antique, sort of primitive. And so I chose not to use, but you could use white if you like brighter colors and not so dingy. But I'm just going to Mod Podge this in tissue paper and Mod Podge. Once you lay it down, it's pretty much you're locked in there. And so I did get some wrinkles on the first one, and I did a little bit better of a job on the other 3 sides of the box. Once that dried, I used sandpaper, a sanding block, to remove the excess, and then I went over that once it was dry with another coat of Mod Podge just to protect it. I had these holes where the handle was, and I should have, put spackling in it or some wood filler, and just went ahead and painted over that, but I didn't know at that point if I wanted to add handles back onto it, so I just left it to come back to it. And I decided that I did not want a handle on this box, so I'm just taking this little furniture tack here I got from Walmart. I'm going to fill that hole with hot glue, then poke the tack through there. I was just showing you that the pointed end there went through the hot glue, and it sort of covered that to where if anyone did stick their finger down in there to pick up the box or anything, it wouldn't scratch them because that hot glue's covering the pointed end. I racked my brain trying to figure out what to do to cover the top there, to cover the staples and the end of the wire on the grid there. And I just landed on covering it with twine. And if you have any other ideas about how I could have covered that, I would definitely rip all that off and replace it if I could figure out, the perfect solution. Really, I wish I could have hammered it down enough to where I could have put some wood trim on the top. I think I would have liked that better. But the top was so uneven with the thick wire. and the staples sticking up, so twine was really a good choice for that. And I just went down on the ledge there a little bit where my tissue paper, left a gap at the top. So to cover that, I went around the edge, and that ended up looking good. I'm going to apply antique wax with a pretty dry brush on the twine just to age that up a bit, and then on the box itself as well. This box is going to be for my bigger brushes, and I'm just going to keep my small brushes in a jar for now. I'm so glad to have this to store my large brushes in because I don't have a good stock of larger brushes. I never buy them up, a good stock of them, because I didn't have a place to put them. I just had all my brushes thrown into this bucket. And so now they're sort of separated out, a little more organized, and I really love the look of this box. Because of the grid, this would be perfect to put flowers in. There's so many different things you could do with this box. I have quite a few of these jars. Sauerkraut came in them. There's a certain brand of sauerkraut sold up north here in the States that is very good sauerkraut, and we bought some. A friend recommended it, and we got a jar up north, and then that same friend shipped us some, and so I had several jars of it, and I'll leave a link for that sauerkraut down in the description box. But it comes in this barrel jar, and I like the look of it, but I don't like that it's just clear glass. I'd rather have tinted glass, and so I thought these would be good to experiment on. And so I have this Mod Podge and some food coloring in brown, and I'm just going to mix it up and apply it to this glass. I also tried regular school glue with the same food coloring. I just wanted to see which medium would sort of give me the look that I was going for. And so using this same gel food coloring here, I'm just going to mix this up. And with this, I didn't like how light the first one was with the Mod Podge, so I added more food coloring in with this school glue here. For the third jar, I'm using this clear school glue. I had a feeling that this one was going to turn out well because I could tell as I was painting it on the jar what it was going to look like with the matte Mod Podge and the regular white school glue. It had a lighter brown look to it, so I didn't know what it was going to turn out like until it was dry, but you could tell immediately that the clear school glue was going to work. Now, I did just want to show you that even if I didn't feel like I put a lot of glue on the jar, but apparently I did, and it did drip down. It ran down the jar as it was drying, and it even puddled, so I had to move it occasionally as it would kind of drip off the jar. And then as an afterthought, I had this dishwasher Mod Podge, and I used it as well on the fourth one. I used about the same amount of food coloring, just one little scoop there. The first one with the regular matte Mod Podge, I only just sort of dipped the spatula into the food coloring, and with the other three, I scooped a clump out and used about the same amount. You can see here, I did a white background on my table here so that you could see through the jar to the white background. You could see very clearly how each application went, and each of them has some splotchiness to them. None of them are perfect. I really liked the clear school glue. The Mod Podge, I was surprised at how, I guess because it's matte, it has a cloudy look to it. And remember, I didn't put a whole lot of food coloring in that one. You can still see through it, but it does have a frosted look and not a clear, a super clear look to it. And then same thing with the regular white school glue. It says it dries clear, but you can see that it has a milky finish. It is definitely frosted. Now, I don't like these frosted looking ones for what I'm going to use them for, but I could think of some different applications that this would actually work really well for. I definitely like the look of this brown frosted glass as opposed to, the more white frosted. And then as sort of a surprise, this dishwasher safe Mod Podge, it turned out, really nice. I really liked, the shine on it, and it, it didn't do any dripping like the clear school glue did. It was thinner. And I think next time I would put more food coloring in with the dishwasher safe, but I think that might be my favorite one. Definitely that one and the clear school glue. I think both of these, the clear school glue and the dishwasher Mod Podge, will work well for what I'm wanting to do with these, which is use them for craft supply storage. Now, one thing about the clear school glue, though, is that it did have a little bit of an orange look to it. I have this vase here and two vases, and I know the one on the right on your screen, on the far right, is from Dollar Tree. There it is. And the one with the beads in it. It's from Dollar Tree, and I liked it when I saw it at Dollar Tree, but I thought it's not really brown. It's not like an amber color, it's more orangey, and so I don't like that about these vases, and the clear school glue had that same, so I don't know what other color I maybe could put into the food coloring to mix in there with it that would take away that orange and make it more of a true brown. And obviously none of these compare to, amber glass, and even, any store-bought amber tinted glassware that you might get from the store. It doesn't compare, but it's a super cheap option, and you could just, it's so cheap and it didn't take a lot. It didn't take a lot of Mod Podge or a lot of glue, and so you could do a bunch of your glassware if you wanted to for very cheap. And I just wanted to show you here that once you put objects in the jar, the splotchiness, you don't see the splotchiness at a distance. You don't really see it when you pick it up if you have something in it. It's literally just if you had it sitting on a white, in front of a white wall and you didn't have anything in it, people are going to see the splotchiness. But just, in a regularly lit room on a darker background, like, you're not going to see those imperfections as much as you see them here, where they're, well lit on this white background. And there's a bunch of things you could do with the lids, but I just simply put some Mod Podge on them and then put some brown paper on them, some craft paper to cover that lid so that I can, on things like wood beads that I'm going to store in these, just have the lid covered. I have these two Brie boxes that Brie cheese came in from Walmart. It's the $5 wheel of cheese. And then they were just so cute. I didn't want to get rid of them. I decided to keep them for crafting. I have two of them. And you could also do this with the little cardboard boxes or paper mache boxes at Dollar Tree. They always have cardboard boxes that you could do this with. But I'm just going to cover the sides. I took some sandpaper to that lettering on the side, and it's like the ink has soaked into that cardboard. So I'm just going to cover the sides with this brown paper tape that I got from Dollar General, but I know they have it at Walmart as well. I'm going to be covering the top, so I wanted it nice and clean on the top. But on the underneath of the lid, I'm just going to cut little slits and fold that over inside of itself. I didn't want to do that technique on the top because I didn't want the lines from that tape sort of coming through the paper that I'm going to apply to the top. I do the same thing to the bottom. I will have these as a printable down in the description box. It is from the same catalog, I believe, from 1904 or 06 that I found online. And it's just an advertisement, one for buttons and one for safety pins. And I know that this is a different tone, a different color than the paper tape that's on the side, but we're going to be doing some blending, and it'll look nice in the end. I'm just going to apply that with a glue stick, but of course you could just Mod Podge or use spray adhesive, whatever you're, most comfortable with. Printable will be sized to these Brie boxes, but of course if you're using one from the Dollar Tree, you'll need to size it up or down, and in your print options, you can just print it at 75% or bigger, whichever you need. And I just covered the bottom with the same craft paper that I printed the images on, and just, glued that on there to cover that bottom. I know you can get this letter-sized craft paper online on Amazon, or I'm sure you can get it at craft stores. It's just the letter size, 8.5 by 11, that you can send through your printer. I'm going to try to antique these up a little bit by putting this antique wax on the edges and then sort of feathering out toward the middle on the top and the bottom as well. You want a pretty dry brush. You don't, unless you want it to look, really dirty. You want a pretty dry brush, and then you're going to be pretty rough with the brush there along the edges. And this is going to make that transition from that tape to the paper just look more natural. Going from darker to lighter on the top. Make it look like it's more on purpose, that they're not the same shade of brown. I just love these, and I love how someone, hand drew these graphics here. I'm sure they had tools, manual tools to help them keep their drawings even and everything, but I just think it's so neat using these antique images on things in your own home, and to think that someone from, the year 1900 drew these images and now you're using them, and I just think that's a really neat thing. I will be storing safety pins and buttons in these little boxes. And all three of these crafts today I'm hoping to use, I am going to be using for craft storage. And my son is got his wedding date set for this year, so he'll be moving out when he gets married. And so I'll be turning his room into a craft room, and so I'll take y'all along for that journey. And we'll make some really fun, vintagey craft room storage options. And I'll take you along with styling the room and decorating it and getting it all together. But thank you so much for watching today. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it. If you liked this content, if you liked what I made and the style of it, or if you got any inspiration from these, I would suggest subscribing so you don't miss any future videos, and give it a thumbs up if you liked it. But thanks for watching. I hope you all have a great day. See you next time.